Healthy Lifestyle Design is a part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Healthy Lifestyle Design, a mom and daughter podcast. I'm Pamela Heichel, and I will be joined soon by my mother and co-host, Janet Heichel. On the show, we share our passion for a healthy lifestyle and what has worked best for us and what we are still exploring. We are constantly educating ourselves and talking to each other about the body, mind, and soul, and how they're all interconnected. So we thought, why not share our journey with you? Today's episode is about the anticipated documentary that should be hitting the airwaves, video waves, social media waves on April 11th called Meet the Future. That's MEAT, the future. Now, what's happening is in the laboratory, extracting cells by live animals, we are able to make meat without sacrificing or compromising animals. And there are many reasons as to why this endeavor is happening, and that is to address climate change, deforestation, protein deficit, or actually great sources of protein, animal slaughter, health. And it's claiming that this is where tech can save the world. And Janet and I both are pescatarians. We started as vegetarians. We dabbled in veganism. And then as we traveled and enjoyed that and other cultures and really focused on what feels good for us and why we're choosing to do what we're choosing, we've ended up with a diet that is just very specific to us. We eat the fish folk. We eat some dairy, we eat some cheese, we eat some eggs. We don't eat the other meat, if that's what you want to call it. So we didn't do any research. Of course, we haven't seen the documentary. And so we have a really real and candid conversation about this topic. And we ask questions and we share our initial responses or reactions to this topic about the future of our food source. Fascinating. So follow along. Would love to hear what you all think, and watch out for that documentary because it's going to be life-changing. Yes, we think so. Now, before we begin, let's listen to our sponsors. With Pod Power, our sponsors are making it possible for us to amplify the voices of Albertans and Alberta podcasters. This episode, Edmonton Community Foundation is helping us give a Pod Power shout out to Book Women. Book Women is a podcast about editing, publishing, and writing Indigenous stories. 3 Métis librarians representing nations from across the homeland aim to inspire Indigenous peoples to share their stories in whatever form that they enjoy. Guests include Indigenous storytellers from diverse mediums like podcasting, burlesque, books, comics, social media, films, music, and everything in between. You can listen and find out more at bookwomenpodcast.ca. This episode is brought to you by Taproot Spotlight, a service that helps businesses and organizations pay attention to the people they serve. Taproot tells you the news about the people and companies that are important to you. Use that information internally to keep everyone on the same page, or share it with the world in your newsletter, on your website, and on your social media channels. Paying attention pays dividends. Find out more at taprootpublishing.ca/spotlight. That's taprootpublishing.ca/spotlight. And finally, folks, check out more podcasts in the Alberta Podcast Network, like My Friends and Pals. No, I'm kidding. But truly, I love to listen to Mess Hall Podcast. Join hosts Avery and Lena Cochran and sometimes guests as they sample, rate, and talk about fun foods. History and facts are discussed, from treats such as flavored Oreos to pumpkin spice to types of box dressing. Listen to an amusing debate about the assessment of a different food theme each week. This couple may not always agree, but they will for sure ridicule each other for not seeing eye to eye. Listen weekly to hear delightful banter about yummy foods. Visit messhallpodcast.com or check them out wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, folks, that's all I got. Let's get to it. Well, hello there, Janet.
Hi, Pamela. How are you today?
Well, I tell you, it's a Tuesday that feels like a Friday.
I know it's been so.
Mom, I'm serious.
Yes, I know.
Right?
You're saying it's such a. It was.
I'm exhausted
in,
already.
In the middle of the week, I know it was hectic.
It's not even middle of the week. It's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday, like a Monday and a Friday.
Combined?
Together or separate. Usually Mondays are really busy. Fridays are sometimes, because it's the end of the week, busy.
Sure.
But
okay, that's fair.
Somehow your Friday was easier. Your
Yeah,
Monday
maybe.
wasn't bad. It's
Yeah,
all
that's true.
brought down to Tuesday, but that's okay.
That's true.
Tuesday's usually your day booked off from your business.
It's true, but that didn't happen today. Yeah. And I've decided. Oh, so Sunday we didn't go on our walk because first day of spring, a blizzard, as it happens, as one does on the first day of spring, we get a blizzard.
And it was heavy, wet snow, so it wouldn't have been pleasant to walk. They had, I don't know, in the first few hours how many accidents were in the city already. So. And the visibility wasn't that great because it was really coming down. But towards the evening, it cleared up.
It did. Well, actually midday, right?
Yes.
Like the sun kind of popped out a bit and what have you. And I was proud of myself. You and I did a little bit of heart and bones yoga. It was a really chilled, relaxed one. So then I waited for a bit because I procrastinated. And I did one of Amanda Ford's on heart and bones yoga or mindful movement. I did one of her 30-minute strength training, and I'm really proud of myself because I did it all by myself, Mama, at home.
I know every time you go, Mom, I'm doing this, and I'm going to. Is she waiting to say, well, I'm going to do it with you, but I'm in my own place? And I said, I'm not going to say that to her. Let her do it herself. If she is.
I wasn't looking for you to do it because I know you have your own things. You probably already did 40 chin-ups and 20 push-ups by that time.
Yes, I probably did quite a bit because I do a lot of other things.
Yes.
Anyway.
And then Monday, I actually went to one of our leisure pools and did some treading of water and steam room and hot tub.
It's good for you. You're really getting out there, Pam.
I'm really getting out there, JP.
Where you're using every day for some little bit for yourself.
A little bit, right?
Yes, and that counts. That's good.
Because I will admit that there is this ideal or this idea of what I want to feel like and look like. Okay, I'm only human, and I eat fairly good, and
that's good.
There's days when
healthy. You eat healthy.
I do, and I do indulge, and I don't feel guilty about that, and I don't think it's wrong. And we do the weight training only twice a week, and I'm trying to incorporate a few things when I can at home. But I think one of the biggest things that's missing, not necessarily for me, but for a lot of people, is the various ways in which we can move every day, just for basic things, right? Like, go walk and get your food, hop on a bike and get your food, walk or hop on a bike and meet a friend, take public transportation because you still need to walk.
Right. Or else if you
Clean
don't,
your house.
if you don't bike, you can always walk if there's something close by.
Right, but you know what I mean?
I know, yeah.
Rather than driving,
well, with the gas prices are so high, so it's good to be walking anyway.
I think so.
The sun's coming out and the streets are just about dry, so a lot of people are out there on their bikes. And I've seen some skateboards today, and I've seen.
Oh, did you?
And I heard the motorcycles already were on their way.
Oh, I know.
To go up there the other day too. And a lot of people have all of their beautiful cars out now that were parked all winter. So
yeah,
Anyway.
So Janet, would you eat cell-based meat? Welcome to our topic for this episode.
Yes, it's been coming a lot lately. Up a lot lately. I've seen it on conference calls. I've seen it people having different. Pages or written articles about it, so it's becoming
documentaries.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, it's coming up, and different people are having debate on it.
Well, you alerted me to this, so let's set this up though. Cell-based meat, also known as cultivated meat. Now, there is a documentary coming out called Meat, M-E-A-T, Meat the Future film on. Oh, isn't it supposed to be April 5th or
11th? I thought you told me.
April 11th, yes. So I think we're going to try to see if we can watch it. But in the meantime, we thought we would just have more of an exploratory conversation between both of us about this concept of cell-based meat.
You know, every time I hear that, Pam, and that's why I was really interested how they are going to make this and what it's going to look like. Every time I hear cell-based, I think of a glob.
Yeah,
like a glob,
yes.
like, you know, that spongy stuff.
Right.
That's what I think it is. But actually, it's not. It will be in the shape of a steak. Exactly what it's supposed to look
Mom,
like.
and I didn't do the research because I really wanted to be, completely unbiased when watching the documentary. Like, it is cells cultivated from live animals.
Yeah, it is, yes,
right?
yes.
So it's basically the petri dish animals.
Exactly,
meat,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm. It's meat, but it's made in the lab, like
Right.
microbreweries. Same
Right.
kind of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Same kind of thing, micro meat, because people are having issues.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that about. So yeah, you're right. I mean, I have that visual too when you tell me, when you hear cell-based meat
Yeah.
or cultivated meat, that kind of glutinous glob. But actually, one of my favorite restaurants in Edmonton, Paramandi, which is a vegan eatery. It's like a fusion of like Indonesian, Chinese type food, Thai food, and they use a lot of glutinous, what we would call fake meat. And they shape it and fry it and sauce it up, and so it's kind of the same
thing. Has a taste, and every time I think of that, I think of, because I'm a vegetarian, so I eat plant-based feed. But the other day, I found some plant-based bacon.
Yes. Okay.
Remember, we did have some plant-based salmon bacon. Remember that we used
That's
to buy?
not plant-based. That's
salmon
bacon.
Sorry. Okay, but this was plant-based bacon.
Okay.
And so I was, interested.
What's the main ingredient? Is it soy or is it tofu? Gluten, vital wheat gluten? Or
I read it, but I don't remember
Okay.
what it was. It was nothing that I can pick up right now.
Right.
I still have some. I should go and look at it again. But I wanted to see how it tasted, and it does taste like bacon.
Right.
So where do they get the taste? Like, how do you put a taste into something?
That's where the scientists
come in, and it's just like with a cell-based meat.
Right.
They said it will taste exactly like your 8-ounce ribeye steak or your hamburger or your whatever it is. So
right.
I suppose they grow from the cell that they pick out of the live animal.
I don't know.
I guess it grows and it becomes.
I guess so. Like that's where I want to become educated by watching the documentary, and I'll probably do a little bit of my own digging and research because I'm curious about how that actually comes about.
Well, that much I know is that they take the cell out of the live animal.
That's right.
And they said it does not hurt the animals, just like us getting a
yeah,
needle.
That's right.
So it's a thing. So you can grow smaller herds of animals and keep them.
But you're not growing. Oh no, I see what you mean. Like we have on hand the herds of animals so we can continue to draw the cells from them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
But
because we're not using the cells to grow an animal, just the meat.
Just the meat, yes. But I'm saying that we don't need big dairy farms where they're all in cages, where they're all fed all of this nutrients and fed all of this antibiotics and stuff like that. That's why most of us are sick now. Anyway,
yes.
But so with the cell-based, what they do is just take some cells out of it, put it in their little container in the lab, and then they say they put a whole bunch of nutrients into it, what you're supposed to have, you see.
Interesting.
So
like the riboflavin, the iron, the
whatever,
vitamin D,
so
whatever.
it's I guess they have molds or whatever, I think.
Yeah.
And they shape it like a steak, but I don't know, I haven't heard, will the bone be in it? Will the bone, like a ribeye steak, like the roast, will there be bones? I don't know if it maybe might be. It's just like being alive. It's a live thing that they're bringing, so you would think everything would be in there.
I don't know. This is where we need to watch that documentary and do our own research because I'm interested to see. I know with this documentary coming out, kind of one of the taglines is "Tech can save the world," and it's probably not the way in which we thought tech was going to save the world, right? Like, here we're proposing that we can grow animal meat for consumption and nutrition, but yet we haven't been able to solve cancer. We haven't been able to deal with amputated limbs, for example. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I'm really curious. Some of the things that they brought up, though, top of mind, if by approaching our meat diet this way, is first and foremost what was driving this is the whole idea of climate change.
Yeah.
And I know you're really passionate about it, and you bring it up so much, just about the slaughter and the treatment of animals, and how with big farms they have so many animals in a tight space. They get sick, they're pumped with hormones and antibiotics. All of that runs off into water, into our water that we consume as humans.
It soaks into the soil and into the river, into the lake.
Yeah.
It goes somewhere, it does.
Yeah, and then if we don't get it that way, we're getting it by actually consuming that meat itself. And then imagine the state of your meat, even energetically. And this is not woo-woo stuff, but you're eating meat of animals that are absolutely terrorized because they're being slaughtered. They're not being hunted out in the natural world.
Yes, when first of all, from their wherever they're raised, wherever they're raised, and if they're raising them for slaughter, they're raised a different way than free range animals are.
Right.
They're raised so
it's inhumane.
It is. They're not fed natural grass, natural outdoor food. There's just everything.
They don't get the sunlight.
It's chemicals. It's all of this, and then they're herded into this. So these poor animals suffer all the time until they get to this, and then they're trucked away. So in the truck, big compartments, they're shoved in there, and then they go into the slaughterhouse, and who knows what happens there, or how it happens.
Yeah.
Or I probably know how it happens, but I really don't want to say how it happens, and it's not pleasant. So these poor animals are suffering, and
it's true, they are suffering. And the other thing when you talk about climate, though, as well. So I mean, we've talked about how in our atmosphere, the increase, the overabundance of methane in our air, and that's from a lot of the livestock as well, right? And then there is the issue around deforestation, primarily in the underdeveloped countries, and I believe it's to help supply the fast food chain with their meat. So we go into places in South America and we cut down acres of forest, of rainforest, vital rainforest.
Because they need the farmland.
They need the farmland, and we destroy the ecosystem in the meantime.
It's either destroy the forest for their farming, for the animals to be out there, or else to plant grains to feed the animals, right?
That's right.
So there's just no way around this if you're doing this. And also I was thinking about okay, I just lost it.
That's okay. So then the other thing that they wanted to address with cultivated meat is, I don't know if I necessarily believe this, is the protein deficit in our diet. And I'm not necessarily convinced that we have a protein deficit as much as we have just an overall nutrient deficit, because people are still consuming a lot of meat.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's not quality meat, and it's fast food, right?
That's right.
And so not only are you not getting quality protein, you're also not getting quality nutrients as well.
So, this is what I was going to say about this.
She's touching my knee.
Sorry,
I'm kidding.
About this meat.
Yes.
About these animals.
Yes.
When they're being bred.
Yes.
For food, they are injected with all of these chemicals, or all these hormones, or all these antibiotics, because they have to keep them from not being sick, or keep them from being healthy, or keep them from not getting too fat, or keep them from the meat being...
Mom, and how do you think we get the most milk out of a cow? We're pumping that baby with estrogen like there's no tomorrow.
So the thing is, when it's put in the store, in the meat shelves, and you buy it and you eat it, then we can't figure out why there's so much illness in the human beings.
Yeah.
How many times have they pulled that meat off the shelves because it either has mad cow disease, or salmonella, or some other kind of disease that I can't even name? It goes with the chickens the same way. Mm-hmm. The chickens are, when I hear the stories about the chickens, it's just like, they're in cages and they sit there. They can't even walk.
They can't. No.
And they're just pump full. So within a year, they're your fryers. You're eating them.
Oh God. Okay.
Anyway,
yes.
Enough of that.
So then Pamela, of course, listed off, okay, we're cultivating meat. because perhaps tech can save the world and we can address climate change, deforestation, insufficient protein, animal slaughter, and overall health. So then I wrote, well, then just don't eat meat.
You'll have people that will never give up meat.
Right,
They
I know.
will eat meat forever.
Well, you've got the whole keto movement, right, which is
Yes.
a lot of BS, but the primary ingredient there is meat, right? It's your red meat, your wild game, your chicken.
Well, the wild game is good. I don't have a problem with wild game. It's
Well, I
healthy.
don't have a problem if you actually go out and get your wild game.
Yes, and it's healthy. And
Right.
it's very healthy because they're feeding off everything that's natural. But
Right.
When they're on the keto diet and they eat the chicken and they eat the meat, I mean, half
Right.
of it's just about produced.
Yeah. And I don't like, I mean, call me naive, sure, but why are we where we are? We have too many people in this world. We're overpopulated.
That's probably number one.
We're overpopulated. And Mom, I'm still very strong on this. Our fast food culture has spread like wildflower globally. It's not just America anymore. It is globally. And that requires and I mean, it's not like you're getting 100% fantastic meat for all of these things anyway. But there's beef for the burgers, there's pork for the burgers, there's chicken for the chicken McNuggets, for example, right? Like meat.
No, just stop and think. Let's talk about McDonald's because everyone knows McDonald's. They have franchises everywhere globally,
Right.
Not one, but many thousands in each place.
Yes.
How do you keep the meat for the people that are ordering the meat? Also, they never run out. Where do you think this is all coming from?
Mm-hmm.
So no wonder these labs are popping up, and they've been working on this cell-based meat for I think maybe 2-3 years now. Slowly developing and improving it and seeing how it can work before they present it to the public. They said within the next 5 years, this is what you'll be eating.
Well, I mean, is it really? Yes, it is different, but it is a similar approach to how within the lab, we tried it before, like 10, 15, maybe even 20 years ago, and it didn't really go very far because we were quite limited. But in the last 5 years, across almost all fast food chains, we have seen Beyond Meat, for example, which is a vegan meat substitute. It's a brand name, Beyond Meat, and they took off. I mean, I don't personally like it, but, well, that's not true because I eat it at Starbucks. Starbucks has it. A&W has it.
I've never tried that, Pam. Oh, but I buy the Beyond Meat. I think they sell them in the stores. Yes.
Oh, they do. The burger patties,
Yes.
the ground meat, the
meat.
hot dogs, right? It's all Beyond Meat.
I don't eat
And
the
so
hot
I
dogs.
think you're right. I would be curious to see with this documentary, but the fast food industry sounds like the first and best channel to introduce this
is in the fast
cell-based meat, don't you think?
Probably in the restaurants.
Because if they can get, I'm thinking about storage.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Okay, so
I wonder. I don't know.
Yeah,
all of the details.
neither do I. But I'm thinking, from a business mind, if you want to decrease your overhead, right, and make more money. So if you can
longer shelf life.
You less transportation because your meat's not coming from Brazil, for example.
That's right.
It's coming from labs all across the world.
And the thing is, once these labs start going and they are producing exactly the steak and the hamburger and what they're supposed to be like, so every city could have its own lab.
Exactly, right? And so you reduce the cost of your supplies, but that doesn't mean that the fast foods are going to reduce the price. They're not. They're going to jack it up because it's something new. But no, at the same time, you would want to encourage your customers to eat it.
But just a minute, how's that going to work with all the dairy and the hog farms and the chicken?
Oh man,
people, you tell me that there's going to be
lobbyists are going to be working hard
to. Well, it was the same thing when Beyond the Meat came out too. It was a lot of protests. A lot of people were having because it was cutting.
That's right.
Profits.
So
I think the same thing's going to happen with. Well, they were saying when they went soy-based milk,
right,
in California,
they
didn't want them to use the milk on the end because it's not a milk. They were saying, does the almonds have teats? Well, someone brought that up, so it's
Right.
not milk, so you can't call that milk.
Right.
But
right.
they lost in their
Yeah.
court case. They said no, you can still call it milk. Doesn't matter what, because milk isn't something that belongs to you.
Right.
It belongs to everybody.
So I see a couple of things. I see the potential for it to be tested and take off in Europe. I wonder. This is a little controversial, but now I'm thinking about cultural religious groups like Jewish and Muslim. What would be the parameters around consuming cultivated pork? Because really it's about the animal itself being unclean, quote unquote.
Interesting. Never thought of
I
that one.
wonder. This is what I like about the evolution, and I don't mean ascending, the evolution of humans and life and such, because what it does is it pushes boundaries.
It does.
And it really forces you to engage in the exercise of redefining values and what's important and what's not important, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
I think the first thing they're going to do is to see how it's working in the lab, if they can produce this 10-ounce rib steak or whatever it is, and then they're going to start from there introducing it to see. Well, of course they're going to have to go. Everybody's going to have their input in there.
Yeah.
But then you have they did say that there'll be a shelf for this meat, a shelf for regular meat, and shelf for probably for the based meat that's nature fed meat too. As well,
I mean, and then you start talking about like farmed fish. It's not like we're cultivating them or producing them, but we're certainly raising them in.
It's the same thing as cattle,
right?
Or same thing as a chicken. You raise them in a special area. You're feeding them so they grow quicker because.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, once they start doing this with that beef and then the chicken, then you'll have the fish too. You'll have everything's going to be cell based or produced in the labs. So.
Would you eat it?
Well, I'm not a meat eater.
I know. But,
so
but there's no slaughtering of animals.
They said that's the biggest concern of some people. So that might be.
So would you eat it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
No, because I'm not a meat eater.
Okay.
I wouldn't eat it because it's still an animal. It still comes from the animal. There's nothing different in it.
Right.
It's a cell that grows, like the meat grows inside the live animal. It's a cell that's growing inside incubator, I'm supposing. Right. Same thing.
But you're not hurting anyone.
No, you're not hurting anyone.
By purchasing and consuming it.
But I mean, after so many years not eating meat, it doesn't even blink anything on me.
No, but I mean, I know for myself, prehysterectomy, when iron was an issue, and the most bioavailable is red meat for iron, right? Yeah, I don't know.
That could be very interesting. I'd like to see how, especially what goes into it and how much different it is than the live, other than the slaughter and how they're raised.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely see if we're able to watch this documentary, and then we'll do another podcast like after watching it, because, I don't know. I'm just making generalized assumptions on what's happening, and they have to be you're not going to invest time and money in something if you don't believe that there's a channel for it, right?
I agree with you. This is huge.
Yeah, and so I kind of feel that fast food, because one of the points in the very limited social media posts that they have, because of course they're coming out with the documentary, is health, right? So it's not unlike getting fortified milk. The milk is still coming from the cow, but I mean, we screwed that whole process up because of pasteurization. So now what we've burnt off, we have to put back in.
Yeah.
And then more so, right? So it's fortified with vitamin D, with vitamin Bs, with calcium, etc. And so the same can be done with like a piece of steak. They're probably thinking,
well, they could put more nutrients in.
Exactly, right? And so, but of course, initially, this product has to cost a lot more. Well, maybe not, because I mean, if you look at a cattle ranch, the land, the equipment, the labor, the medicines, the feed, the transportation, and then just running the operation, the utilities, the
Mhm.
water,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? And so I would think that eventually it's going to be the healthier, cheaper option.
I'm thinking because I mean, there's really whatever's happening outside in the climate has nothing to do with this cell that's growing
That's
inside the
right.
lab.
That's right.
On the other hand, is when those live dairy cattle or meat cattle are growing there. If there's a shortage or some shortage of hay and of food, they're going to have to transport it from far away, and that's going to be a big cost. You know, when we have
Right.
the droughts here and
Yes.
the fields aren't doing well, so. Lab-grown meat has nothing. None of that's a concern.
Mom, what about communities that are devastated by natural disasters and now they don't have any food source? Wouldn't this be amazing?
This would be, isn't it something like that? Which wheat, wasn't it wheat that they
Who's they?
the world
Okay.
to
yeah.
feed the hungry?
Yeah.
What were they?
Rice?
Was it rice or what were
Wheat.
they
I don't know.
modified?
Corn,
Soy. Yeah,
that's
it's the same kind of thing.
well,
right?
that's actually for the cattle, for the live feed.
Well, they
to
were saying.
eat,
Well,
but-
it was saying still for the people that are hungry too.
Yeah, right.
Because it grows twice as fast, apparently.
So I think this is where they're going. Like, how can we get food to the people in a healthy way without compromising the environment? Because the bottom line is there are too many people, and the practices that we currently employ for our food, and vegetables are not an exception to this, right? Because of how we farm them,
Right.
is contributing to climate change. Is it not?
True.
Yeah.
Yes. And maybe with the cell-based meats,
Yeah.
like I said, it has a longer shelf life, so you can transport it longer, and it still
Right.
tastes good, so it can get over to the countries
Right.
that are lacking it.
Does that mean I can have a pet cow?
Oh my God!
Because now they can just like be and roam and cut our lawns.
I just it's
and
I can't see the
and the
farmers giving
pigs and
this
the
up.
goats can eat our garbage like they're supposed to. That's why they're an unclean animal for certain religious groups. Pigs.
Yeah. Oh, because they clean up. Yes,
They do.
But everybody loves bacon.
I know, it's ridiculous. I mean,
Everybody
I love the
loves-
smell of it. Listen, barbecue season, I still salivate.
Do you?
Oh yeah, I love a smell of
Oh, I
the
like the
cooked
smell,
meat.
but I don't. It doesn't bother me one bit.
No, I mean, it's been so long that I'm like, do I even have the enzymes to digest this anymore? Like, what would it honestly, maybe it would actually be better. I don't know. Whatever.
I just can't see myself eating a steak. I was never a big steak person.
Right.
I was never, eat hamburger.
Well, we're pescatarians because we actually eat fish.
Yes.
Right? And we will consume
For
dairy
some reason,
from time to time.
for some reason, I don't mind eating the fish. I'm not sure why, but
I don't know either.
well, you know what? It's more healthy for me. That's why I eat the wild fish too.
Yeah, and it feels good with you.
Yeah.
I think that's the bottom line. So I'm really curious. Like, if we're tech will save the world. Yeah, and if we're approaching it that way, I think that's amazing. That's amazing, and I'm a little skeptical, obviously, right?
Yeah, we're saying it's amazing now. I'm just like, okay, let's lay low because we don't know. This could be
Don't
big.
know.
With all the cattle ranchers, that could be a big thing.
Oh, could you imagine?
Yeah,
though?
so I'm going like,
Like, we're talking generations of farmers, right? Ranchers
this is their
farmers.
livelihood.
Well, Mom, it's like oil and gas, the beef industry. No? Like, come on. Like, that's some big, serious
Yeah.
money in there, isn't it?
Yes, come to think of it, it
Right?
is all of we raise our food to eat. But you see, we got off
We
track.
raise our animals to eat.
Yes, we got off track somewhere long time ago.
Yeah. Too many people,
Too
Mom.
many people, and we were getting it fast enough, so we had to do something, and this is what happened. But
Yeah.
Because
All right.
I have friends as well too that still eat that, but they will not buy store-bought meat or chicken. They
Oh,
go
right.
to the farmers that are grain-fed
Right,
or
yeah.
pasture-fed or are just natural.
I know. Yeah. As much as possible, right?
And there's a big difference too. I was telling you too that with the chickens when they were feeding the chickens to make them
Right.
grow so they're ready for us to eat in a year.
Yeah.
If they were feeding a little baby in a year, it'd be 600 pounds.
Oh my God. I know. And then you eat that and you think it's healthy?
Yeah.
It is not healthy.
Think about it. What is healthy in that? Yeah, I'm going for a chicken because I've seen the chickens being trucked in these trucks, and they're
Right.
sticking out. They're like
They're ready to have a heart attack.
well, it's like Panther in Another World. Like they're
Yeah.
zombies. That's what I was
Yeah.
trying to zombies because they can't
Oh,
even
Mom.
walk or anything. So I've seen that. I'm going, gee, and we eat
I can
this.
have a pet chicken too. I can have a little.
Well, when they're little chickies, they're cute, but they grow up and they be big. They'll be like the pigeons on your balcony.
Oh my goodness, I know. All right, this has been an interesting topic that we will circle back.
Yes, I'm very interested. I'm going to do some more reading on it
Yeah, awesome.
because it's been in the news quite a bit now. So
Groovy. Well, I'm off to yoga. What are you doing?
I'm off to watch the hockey game. The Oilers are playing again. So
Yeah. Okay, well, good for them.
okay, happy yogi. Anyway,
What was that? Was that a word you just made up?
happy yogi.
Okay,
I think
yes,
it is
thank
a
you.
word.
Okay, well, you heard it here first.
All right.
All right, JP, toodaloo.
Bye now.
On behalf of Janet and I, we want to thank you for listening to this episode and supporting our podcast. It is such a treat for us to share with you our passion for health and living. If you have any questions or a topic that you would like us to talk about, then please feel free to connect with us at ph@pamelaheichel.com. Remember to meet us in this space every second Wednesday. Much love and peace.